What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we're back with another Destiny 2 video and a whole bunch of stuff to discuss and talk about. We actually learned some pretty big stuff about the 9, which ties into the update to the Queen we got this week, so gonna be going over that. There's also some new info about the Black Armory DLC, which at this point is only about a month away. We have some progress on the Thunderlord questline, some Easter eggs, Destiny 1 exotics, and also a very special unlock I want to show you guys as well. So as usual, a bunch of stuff to look at inside this video. Of course, if you enjoy it and want to support this channel, a like rating is much appreciated. And let's get into it. So something that caught quite a bit of attention earlier was the posting of Destiny 2's UI, its layout, its menu interface, which is pretty interesting. There's quite a lot of it, but this was posted recently by an ex-Bungie developer who used to be the visual lead designer, so he was in charge of basically all this stuff. I mean, a lot of it is just really interesting to see as a fan of the game, so it's kind of like a behind-the-scenes look at how Bungie kind of made and developed the whole UI and visual aspect of this game. And because of that, of course, it's important to bear in mind a lot of this stuff is going to be placeholders and concepts and basic ideas. This image is pretty funny because you can see a legendary version of the Black Spindle from Destiny 1, like not even the Black Hammer, just the OG Spindle as a legendary in Destiny 2. It is also strange to see this version of the menu had 4 subclasses. Again, doesn't mean it's going to happen, but they must have been playing with the idea at some point to make this. I think if we do get new subclasses in the future, it's probably going to be similar to Forsaken, just new additions to existing subclasses, probably not a 4th one. This one showcases a bunch of emblems in Destiny 2, a lot of new ones. You may notice the 3 in the bottom we don't have in game just yet. Someone on Twitter actually asked him what is with these emblems because we haven't seen them so far in game, and he responded saying pretty sure they're in the next update. So this actually is an example of some future content we can expect in game soon. Not sure what he means by update. It could be an update or an actual DLC like Black Armory, but either way, these should be coming soon. Pretty cool emblems. The one on the left is for Vanguard, middle is Crucible, and the one on the right is actually for Gambit. That is the Drifter ship right there. Something in this concept which is pretty simple, but I do wish was in the game, is a time played count on your characters. I mean, clearly it was an idea at some point in time, so I'm not sure why they didn't follow through, but I think it'd be cool to see the overall time played and also per character when you hover over them. The image that definitely got the most attention though is this one, which as you can see is the Zen Meteor exotic sniper from Destiny 1. I know it had a ton of aim assist, but it was a pretty bad sniper, especially comparing to things like Spindle and Darcy. It definitely does not compete these days. Seeing this image did of course lead a lot of people to think, are they bringing the weapon back? Is it returning in maybe Black Armory or sometime soon? Even though some stuff in these images are future content, I'd probably say this is going to be a concept or a placeholder. While this image is definitely not confirmation of returning, I wouldn't be surprised if it did come back sometime soon. Not only was this exotic only added halfway into Destiny 1's life cycle, it was also of course exclusive, so a ton of people have never even played with or seen this weapon. As well as its perks being pretty bad, it was definitely one of the least popular and least known about exotics in Destiny history, so I think it's a perfect example of a weapon to come back, especially with a new and improved version. We also learned a pretty fun fact, but Fairchild was actually the early development name for Hawthorne, so early on that was initially going to be her name. There's also some pretty interesting quest steps, so this one in the European Dead Zone says, among the remains of an old Earth village lies an artifact of our ancient past, a causality of the Twilight Gap that will bring Guardians face to face with the darkness. So I'm not sure what happened to that, but it sounds very interesting. Again, this is early development, so not worth reading too much into it, but that quote definitely didn't come out of nowhere. Someone at Bungie, of course, wrote that, which is pretty strange to say about the darkness. And then this one talks about braving the forest with Cade 6 to uncover the Red Legion's intentions for these shards. So of course, that isn't how the story went, so it could be an early version. So pretty cool to see how Destiny 2's menus and UI were designed, and of course, I'll link the images down below if you want to check them out. So we got an update to the Queen and the Dreaming City storyline through this reset, but also learned some stuff about the 9 as well. When you go into her court, you can see she's having a conversation with the Emissary of the 9, of course, the Trials the 9 vendor. We've never seen her outside of the 3rd Spire, of course, which is set inside the unknown space, some kind of 9 location. We'll talk about the Emissary in a second, but we can see the Queen has made some kind of deal with the 9 and agreed to it. A part of this deal involves moving some kind of asset into position beyond the grave of the First Fleet. She then wants us to leave because apparently her next guest is going to visit her is not a fan of Guardians. That's even more questions. Of all the characters that we know of so far in the Destiny universe, none of them make sense to be allies with the Queen and visiting her, but also enemies of the Guardians. Probably questions we're not going to find out about for a while, but someone we did learn about is actually the Emissary herself. This info was pieced together by someone called Swedish Fish, and they mention how there are some new Grimoire cards and lore tabs in Forsaken that give some details on her. As it turns out, her real name is, or used to be, Orin the Lost, and she is actually an Awoken that used to work with the Queen, and then somehow kind of got tricked or forced into working working with the Nine and is now their puppet. Apparently one day she stole a bunch of Queen's foil and went to look for someone called Namki around the heliopause, which is said to be also where the Nine are involved. So when the Queen is saying it was a friend once and now it's just a shell, she's talking about the emissary that just left. The Queen calls her it, which is pretty strange, so I'm guessing the Nine did something to kind of transform her. When she speaks, of course, you can hear a male voice speaking underneath her, so there's definitely something weird going on. Maybe she's like fused with another person, or she's literally a puppet. There's actually a new lore tab in Forsaken they added where you can see the emissary is arguing with the Nine and kind of defending the Queen. One of the Nine says, clever or not, she will not halt the storm, they are coming, which is definitely a reference to those pyramid ships that are on the way. The emissary says, don't be so sure, those I judge have agency like you will never know. So those she judges, she's actually talking about us, the Guardian. She judges us during trials. She's basically suggesting we can actually beat the darkness and win. Something pretty massive is that at one point during this argument, the emissary points out the Nine aren't actually 9 anymore and they're actually only 5. Apparently 4 members of the Nine actually disagreed with the rest of them and have split off to be somewhere else. They also mentioned the paracausal nightmare in the reef, which of course is Savathun and what she's done to the place, and also the hunter with bleeding eyes, which would be Eris Morn. So definitely some cool stuff we learned about the Queen, the Nine, the emissary, and I do like how the story is still progressing in the Dreaming City with these little cutscenes. So moving on to Black Armory, which of course is the next DLC or mini DLC for Destiny 2 releasing in December. And on the 9, the leaker, who has not been wrong so far, is back with even more stuff. He did say that Black Armory is going to be revealed in a very different way to what we're used to. It does seem very likely at this point that the end of the Thunderlord quest next week could actually be tying into the reveal of this DLC. Curse of Osiris was actually revealed by a trailer back on the 30th of October, and of course it does launch around the same time in December that Black Armory will, so it's definitely very overdue. There are actually a couple of connections which are pretty interesting to make note of, but of course so far the Thunderlord quest steps have all been inside the European Dead Zone. We have to go there on Earth. We also know the next part is going to take us to a part of the Cosmodrome, the Breach, which is again also on Earth. And then we also know the Black Armory is set on Earth somewhere, and then as well as that, the raid layer, according to Anon the 9, is again set on Earth. It could be that when we go to the Cosmodrome next week and get Thunderlord, that we discover this big threat that's going to be the main enemy of the Black Armory DLC. But as always, leave a comment down below. What do you guys think of this stuff? So next up, I wanted to show you guys me unlocking something in-game which is very special and took weeks or probably months to even grind for. This is actually going to be my very first title, so the seals you unlock, which of course are very grindy and take a lot of stuff. The one I can now earn is actually this one, the Curse Breaker for the Dreaming City pretty much. So when we tick that off, we just have 2 remaining, which is going to be O Grave Robber Mine, which is collecting bones, and this one, which is shooting the eggs. Both of those things are actually available inside this week's Ascendant Challenge, which is right here, so we can finally get the title. So we can pop one of these. I'm actually also curious to see if I do get the Harbinger's Echo, the Taken Sparrow, because of course you get that from shooting all 40 of the eggs. I'm willing to bet that I don't get the challenge because I'm pretty sure I've done it on other characters like my Titan I've shot eggs with, and this is the most annoying jumping puzzle in the game. Also leave a comment down below which titles or seals do any of you guys have. I'd be curious to know. I feel like the most common ones are definitely Dredgen, you see that quite often, and also Curse Breaker and probably Wayfarer too. I mean, there are some like Riven Spain which require the Petra's Run, which is incredibly difficult, so you won't see many people with that. And there's the Crucible one called Unbroken, which is time gated till next season, because you need the Luna's Howl equivalent from next season to get it. There's supposed to be an egg in the distance, which is like a faint glow. Is it that thing? I'm guessing it is. So that means there's 1 egg to go and 1 set of bones. This next one I'm pretty sure is quite tricky, but we should... I think it's if you jump over this way. And then from here, I'm pretty sure it's this thing in the distance. You've got to make a sword jump all the way across the cliff. No idea where I'm going, but let's hope it works. Easy does it. And it should be around here somewhere, maybe. I think. I hope. Yeah, there you go. And there it is. And this one, Sparrow, no Sparrow, just a Tiger Spite. Destroy all corrupted eggs inside the Dreaming City. If you don't know, it's actually a glitch that even if you get all 40, you don't get the Sparrow unless you have done it all on the same character, which is really strange. But it is supposed to be a guaranteed reward for all 40, so they'll fix it eventually. I'm guessing we'll get the Sparrow finally. But the final set of bones should be just down here somewhere if I see it glowing. There it is right there. So that should be the final thing that I need. I just realized it's on a floating... or a little point of a... I nearly died there. And there we go, Grave Robber Mine, and there's even a little way for us to get back up. So now if we go into the Dreaming City, we should be able to... Grave Robber Mine done, and Corrupted Omelette done as well. Curse Breaker earned. And there we go, the first seal I've unlocked inside Destiny 2. This is really cool. So if we claim that, and then seal completed, and then I think we have to equip it. Normally it won't show, you have to hit equip, and boom, it's going to be on. So when you get a title, you're going to see this text over your character. It's always going to appear right here. Also, if someone inspects your name, I'm not sure if it'll show it here. If someone inspects your name in the menus, it should show, yeah, Curse Breaker just right underneath. And probably the best feature, which I can't show you, is over my head for other players going to show the little purple text again under my name. So that'll be in game, inside Crucible, literally anywhere you'll always see under my name is going to be the purple text. Honestly, I'm quite surprised they got this title first. I wasn't expecting to get this one. The one I was working on for the most time was actually Wayfarer. So this one you can see I'm on 21 out of 22. These three though are some of the rarest items in the game. So the RNG is actually quite punishing, but each three of them do have a place where they do drop more often than others. So that is going to be the main way to grind for them. The ship is from the Shattered Thrones, the final boss. The Ghost Shell I've heard is a higher chance inside Blind Well and also the Ascendant Challenge. So what I just did is a chance from those. And the Sparrow has the highest chance inside the Dreaming City missions from Petra. So the Oracle Engine, Dark Monastery, and Broken Courier missions. So we did, of course, get the second step of the Thunderlord questline, which is now live and it's going to be, again, like last week, not too eventful. As we know, the exotic itself is time gated till next week, which, like I said, could tie into the Black Armory, but it's going to be when we actually get the weapon. We get this thing and it should be done. I think we have to go to another lost sector. I've probably been to this lost sector all of once. I like hardly remember where this one even was. And there we go. We are done for another week until we finally can complete it next week. Now, there is, if you pay attention, some pretty interesting details inside this room that does lead towards the next part of the quest. It's like a fallen banner that's been woven and tied into Ives' old clothes. So pretty strange, but yeah, I guess we found out who's responsible. But as well as that, this thing is actually pretty important too. This, if you don't know, is actually a fallen teleporter. And you do know from the audio files that you do use a fallen teleporter to go from the European Dead Zone to the Cosmodrome. So this is actually it right here. I'm guessing next week we'll stand right here and go to the breach inside the Cosmodrome for the first time in years. Something they did add with this latest reset is actually inside Eververse, which I mentioned in a recent video, the lethal system. But that is the Temporal Surge, which is basically a new prismatic facet or matrix, but for old stuff. This, as I said, is basically a way to just buy straight up with silver old emotes from old seasons that previously shouldn't be available. These are from Curse of Osiris, these two. I do have both of these, but the difference with these is these are actually separate kind of new emotes. This one's got a green broom. If I go to my actual sweeping emote, you'll see is going to be a little bit different. This one right here, so you can see it's actually a blue broom instead of the green one. So you can see there's a difference basically. Now you can tell the kind of OG original sweeping from the kind of new recent ones. I just noticed this is a title. You can see this is what it looks like for me, except Cursebreaker. But that's definitely my favorite feature because you can just see it everywhere in game. Everywhere you go, you'd always see the little purple Dredgen or Cursebreaker or wherever you are. But I think that's going to do it for today's video. As always, I hope you guys did enjoy it. And if you did, before you leave the video, a like rating down below is much appreciated. Like I said, the Black Armory DLC reveal is going to be very soon. So of course, I'll have videos covering everything. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. In my last video, I showed off a bunch of my best god rolls and rarest loot. So click this image on screen to watch that video. But as always, I appreciate you guys and I'll see you all in the next one.